He's on your team. Please introduce who we got.
In the top right corner, playing for the mighty Golden Dragons, it is the Protoss player, Asuna.
And in the bottom left here, in the red, in his first season back in DreamHack, the Red Zerg for Prentice Esports. Put your hands together for Antis.
You didn't hear it there, but I did clap.
I am very happy about that. Thank you so much, adding to the production value. You know, I don't have the sound button that has the cheering sound. I got to go dig that out of the stuff from DreamHack maybe for tomorrow, but you know, I'll take your clapping. That absolutely adds so much to the broadcast vitamin. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I add value. That is what I do.
I mean, you really do. This is not possible without you. So, you know, you absolutely, the most important part of this broadcast. I just kind of sit here and I pretend I know what I'm talking about, but you actually know what you're talking about, and you got player insights. So, what do you got? We're looking at Asuna in this game. Have you talked to him at all in the last 24 hours? Can you tell us exactly what his plan is?
I don't think I can spoil the entire plan here. But what I can tell you is that obviously at Alpha X, we are thoroughly preparing all players for these kinds of matches. We're offering them resources such as VODs and replays. That they can take inspiration from, or maybe research their opponent just a little bit. Asuna, more in this matchup more than anything, finds his comfort. He's not super happy about his own PvT at the current moment, but this matchup he kind of thrives, and it has been historically his best one too. So yeah, after the research that he has done on Antis, he feels pretty okay about his chances here.
Well, remember, he did 2-0 Neeb, so like if he can 2-0 Neeb, it's looking good. I think he got a pretty good shot. That being said, Neeb has not had the best. It really has not had the best group here in DreamHack. Not yet. I mean, he's starting to come back, and he still has a pretty high chance of finding his way out of this group, even as he sits in 6th place. But still, Asuna 2-0ing Neeb. He's sitting here at 2-2 in the group. He's in a pretty good shot of advancing, actually, so long as he's able to clean out Antis here. But Antis, he's a little bit lower down, but certainly we've seen his ZVP. It's looked rather good thus far. The trick, though, appears to be that he is reticent about killing his opponent. Seems like, yeah, because again, Antis, he was a grad student. He was getting his master's in, I believe, computer science, certainly in engineering, and took some time off the game. So maybe that like deep meta knowledge is lacking just a little bit in terms of like figuring out when exactly you can go kill your opponent.
So it is worth noting, as we have a Stargate opening here, Voidray first coming out of Asuna, all pretty standard. Wants to take his 3rd base here with the Lynx denying it a little bit. It is worth noting that these two have played in the qualifier to this event, where Asuna did win out. I believe it was 2-1. I'm not exactly sure, but the most outstanding fact about that game is that game Antis intentionally took it very late. It was a 40-minute game, and then got to a point where he took one bad fight, tapped out of the game, saying this is not worth my time. So I think now that they're playing for a bit higher stakes, maybe he doesn't tap out just like that. He left the game with like a 12k bank or something. So maybe needs to work on his mentality in this matchup in the later stages just a little bit. But since the qualifier, he's had time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he did something similar actually when he was playing against Maples in on the first play day. I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, play day 1 or 2, where he was in a great spot. He was absolutely in a winning position, smashing down bases, and then he just goes back and he drones up and he redevelops himself, and then you get there, and then Maples eventually came back because while he never had a 4th base, by the way, or missed this Oracle came on, and that is a lot of workers that have not been allowed to mine for the last 30 odd seconds. But he goes and he tries to do all this. Oh, they're not even mining. There we go. Now he's gonna come back and get it. He really did lose his grip on a game that he had won because he was just not interested in attempting to kill, but instead just trying to get more head. And eventually, you know, a 200 supply, 160, 150, 160 supply of Golden Armada, it beats a lot, even if you're only on 3 bases to buy it.
Yeah, let's see if he's learned from that. We do see him teching up quite quickly here. Oh, Asuna mismicroing his Oracle, losing it to just a Spot Crawler. That was sloppy. Let's call it sloppy. The Oracle, you don't want to lose that at this point. It offers value almost throughout the entire game. You can always throw down Revelation, reveal some of the Zerg army. So yeah, sloppy losing that. But behind that, he once again setting up for the heavy Void Raid production. He has 3 on the other side of the map here, but a lot of queens in position to keep that 4th base alive, which is very, very important for at this stage for Antis. Antis teching up himself. He did get the infestation pit, I believe, so we could see a hive coming down anytime, but for the time being, Spire is the name of the game, probably just for a couple of corruptors to get some presence in the air to deal with these void rays.
Yeah, it looks like Antis is kind of playing a dark style here. We got triple upgrades, get 1/1 for range pretty quickly, really for the queens more than anything else. Quick hive, of course the Spire, I think you're right here, it is for corruptors. This is just Antis playing as greedy as humanly possible in this game. And I mean, for the most part, he has not been punished. Yeah, he wasn't mining for a little bit out of that 3rd base, but his worker count, he's on 81 workers. He's going up to his 5th base as Asuna, really not even taking his 4th until right now. And actually the Zergling, never mind. That's a significant bodyguard. Never mind, the Zergling will not be able to deny that base. But both players don't really seem interested in playing the first 10 minutes. They do understand, Vitamin, that this is not an NR10 map, right? We're not playing No Rush 10 minutes.
I'm pretty sure they are aware of that, but maybe this is how they've decided to play this one out. This time around, the 4th base of Asuna. So in the series between Antis and Maples, Antis was extremely good about denying 4th bases. He got, I think in that series, like 13 cancels on 4th bases. So this time around, because he was so greedy, he doesn't have the army that is required to do that. So the 4th base for Asuna, at least for the time being, will go up. So we're just skipping everything, and we're like both players allowing the other player to do what they want for the time being. We already have the first carriers coming out here, and we're gonna have to see how both players control these later game armies now, because that is what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you think about early game Zerg armies. You're like, yeah, okay, it's really the Zergling is the linchpin for the most part. And then you get to the mid game and you're like, oh, well, it's more about, you know, roaches or hydras. Well, maybe not roaches, but hydras or lurkers or banelings. Then you get back to the late game, and suddenly these 3/3 or heavily upgraded Zerglings with crack, with adrenal glands, suddenly that really is the linchpin of this kind of late game ZVP style. Yes, you have what, 20 odd corruptors and 6 vipers and queens on the ground and whatever spellcasters you need and whatever. But really, what I see a lot of these games, and it's not the big army. I mean, sometimes it's just win an army fight, win the game, but really what it tends to be is the Protoss Golden Armada cannot really move around all that much. So you see these just heavily upgraded cracklings wiping out bases. And then, well, the Protoss player can't do nearly as much as they would like, or they hold against that, and the Zerg player kind of spends their mineral bank on just too many Zerglings. But yeah, no, we absolutely have Dark Style here. We got Infestors on the way behind this. Lots and lots of queens. Corruptors in the sky. We're at 10 queens. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing more, considering the style that Antis is playing. But, I mean, this is just solidly a, hi, I'm going to take the map, and I'm not going to die. And if you try to attack into me, you're going to die. So don't even try it. Which... I mean, works. And generally, I see that players go for this style more when they've like tried to do something and it hasn't really worked out, or they've been under a lot of pressure. So they're finding kind of a gas cheap way of surviving and killing armies. But this was Antis's idea coming into this game.
Yeah, he really he saw the opening from Asuna and really never attempted anything else. He was just like, okay, I'm going to accept the proposal of going to the late game. Maybe with the way he approaches this now, it's maybe not the fourth bases that he wants to aim to cancel, but rather the fifth bases. But right now, yeah, he's spending the few units that he has on the ground, the few Zerglings and Roaches, to try and make something happen. Gets a bit of static defense for his efforts, but not much else. And on the other side of the map, the fifth base, it's getting established here. And yeah, Antis is like, nope. I'm sitting further back. I'm getting a Greater Spire. I'm getting an Ultralisk Cavern. All stuff that will come into play in a minute or two. And yeah, but both players maxed out now, and this is when Asuna decides, hey, my army is pretty good. I can maybe move on out to the map, make something happen.
Yeah.
Worth noting, there are no Templars, no Storm in this army.
Yeah, no, I love it. You pull up the units lost in this game, and it's like 50 Zerglings, and that's it. You know, one Void Ray, and that's about it. There's like a grand ton. It's changing now, of course. The bases are starting to go on down because the Protoss army and the Zerg army are choosing to be a little bit more aggressive. But for a moment, it's like a grand total of less than 5,000 resources had been lost 11 minutes into the game, which is just not something you see all that often. We got a little bit of base trade here as the Zerg, it looks like they're going to lose about 2 bases, maybe the third if Asuna decides to rotate on into that one. Antis, though, much more interested in killing off economy, killing off workers, things like that, but really not being nearly as successful. But that's a massive parasitic bomb fungal combination here. It's going to take another one. But the Viper, oh god, he has all the Void Rays here. They're all not gonna go down, but it's gonna be very near thing. They're just gonna catch all the Broodlords as they're morphing on in. The Void Rays are starting to go on down. Interceptors are all dead, and this was the fight that Antis was looking for. Here, there's all the supply. It's dead in the air. It doesn't do anything whatsoever. And the Broodlords knocking down everything on the ground here. What a masterful fight for Antis. He got the spellcasters, and that was all that he needed.
Oh yeah, Asuna a bit overzealous there. Clears out the bases and thinks he can just A-move across the army that Antis has built there. But with a sizable count of Corruptors and the parasitic bombs coming from the Vipers, cleans that fight up. That was very, very expensive for Asuna. Asuna has retained his fifth bases. He lost a couple of probes, but that's about it. So he has to rebuild now, but carriers, they build so slow, and maybe it's now time for Antis to put some more pressure on. He has the Broodlords here, and he could make something happen if he wanted to, but for the time being, just rebuilding some of those infestors that he had lost in the previous fight. And yeah, just re-expanding, not interested in threatening Asuna with what he has right now.
I love the grand comedy, the divine comedy of Zergling trying to kill Probe with his shield battery. Just hear the flickering sound. But we will have a couple of Banelings running out in on the left-hand side. Looks like they will be unsuccessful for the most part. But yeah, it looks like Banelings found a couple more workers on what was the third base of Asuna. And this is what we've been talking about when we talk about Antis' EVB. It's incredibly good. He takes really good fights for the most part. But he doesn't really like to kill his opponent. He much prefers to, follow the old Artosis idea of win ahead, get more ahead, where I really would like to see him go and take advantages of these timings that he has. You know, he had a 50 army supply lead, a far significant tech lead here, so we're going to have to see another fungal parasitic bomb. We have the parasitic bomb. Where is the fungal? We don't have one, but it doesn't really matter because the Corruptors in the skies, they're dominant here. And we are truly back in 2011. It is Broodlord Infestor, and it actually seems to be working out pretty well for Antis in this game.
Yeah, Asuna is really lacking the High Templars in this army. There's no Storm, no feedbacks available, so every time those Infestors or Vipers can get close, they're getting their spells off and they're dealing damage, and that is constant damage that Asuna is taking, whereas Antis is just sitting comfortably at range underneath those Ball Crawlers, underneath those Broodlords. And it's really hurting Asuna. He doesn't even have Storm Research, and I'm afraid he's just slowly going to bleed out against these infestors, these Vipers, absolutely uncontested, and it's a scary situation if you can't play the feedback abduct game.
Yeah, no, really. It's kind of also interesting. We're seeing Antis get a lot of big parasitic bombs or a lot of big fungals but it seems like he never has the energy to have a parasitic bomb and a fungal available at the same time, which is kind of hurting him here. I think he really could have, with that last fungal, I think he could have pushed in if he dropped a parasitic bomb on top of it. But still, I mean, his army is massive. It is expensive. He has a lot of money. He owns the map here. And see, there's another massive fungal, and this one here is a parasitic bomb attached to it as well. And there we go. There's the abduct. We're going to see some carriers go down. A lot of things dying. That being said, there's not a lot on the ground to buffer for these broodlords, and a lot of the broodlords have died, I believe, in that last fight. Not going to question mark.
Antis is also completely out of Viper energy, so for the time being, Asuna is pushing him back on the north side of the map, though. Ultralisk run by taking care of that base entirely. I don't think Asuna has anything to deal with that, so that base will go down. Asuna has rebuilt quite a scary army, but he's completely out of Void Race. Only 3 carriers, so I'm moving super far onto creep. Additional Brute are going to finish up, and these carriers, without doing anything, they're just running into the Corruptors, going down. He's trying to get underneath of the Brute there, but Blinding Cloud preventing these Stalkers from going anywhere for the time being. And with all these Ultralisks showing up here, it's going to spell doom for Asuna. This entire army is going to get cleaned up for almost nothing. Sure, the Brute Lords did go down, but what does he have to fall back to? He's trying to rebuild Void Race once again, but with what Antis has in the sky here, that was extremely costly for Asuna.
And what I will say is Antis, you know, he's not that, it's kind of funny. You look at the incomes, you're like, he's not that far ahead economically of Asuna. I mean, in gas, sure, but not in minerals. And then you'll, which is funny, of course, because Antis has literally every base on the map, pretty much. And Asuna's really only mining off of this one here. But Zerglings are going to find their way on in. Ultra's on top of this shield battery. Overcharge not going to get anything done. The Archons are dying. There we have it. GG Antis. He takes game number 1. And yeah, honestly, that fight around Antis's third base really won him that game. And that was masterful. Maybe Asuna definitely overcommitted. But that was a great fight. Getting the fungal and the blinding, or the parasitic bomb on literally every Skytoss unit. There's just nothing left.
Yeah, I think he saw his opportunity there by getting some disruptor shots onto the Corruptors, but the Corruptors did not the Corruptors. I'm sorry, the Infestors, and the Infestors did all go down in that fight, but they got their spells off before that, and that's where he lost all of his Void Ray in one clump with 1 fungal and like 2 parasitic bombs in there, and and then from that point, it's not a fight that you can really retreat from. That you kind of stuck there. You have to fight it out, and with only carriers left against well upgraded Corruptors that don't have any air support, that don't have any storms protecting them, it's not going to be great. And even from there, I felt like Asuna, he was on 5 bases, he did rebuild once more, but the lack of high Templars, the lack of the availability of feedback and Storm, he really didn't have any longevity in his army, and was eventually whittled down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, again, as we talk about things, as again, a great, for every reason you mentioned a great series or a great game there from Antis. So if Antis wins this next game, then he will go to 2-3. He'll be at -2 map score. Asuna will be at 2-3. Will be at -1 map score. Assuming that, you know, again, assuming Antis wins this next game. And that means there's going to be a whole logjam. I mean, there currently is, but there's going to be a whole logjam of players trying to find their way on out in the bottom 2 spots. I mean, I think Disc and Nina are pretty locked in. Nina, of course, she's 4-0. She's looking really good to make it out. And we do expect Neeb, I think, to come back. I think we do expect Neeb to win out. He just had a bad day 1. I mean, he did 2-0. He's 2-0 at his matches after that. But certainly, Antis winning this series, going 2-0 on it, in particular, really confuses the middle of the pack for Group A.
Yeah, this match alone here can throw a lot of stuff up, and even winning 1 map here for Asuna could already be okay. Just because map score in this constellation can be important, and that's why I'm extremely excited to head into map number 2 here.
Yep, I am as well. So, you know what? You did the intro for me. Let's get map 2.
in the top right corner. He is down 1-0, but looking to bring it back. It's his best matchup from Alpha X. He is Asuna.
And in the bottom left here in the red, up 1-0 for Apprentice Esports. He is the one, the only, Antis.
We have Jagannatha as our second map. I am to this day not sure how to properly pronounce that, but I don't think I'm alone in that. I think Fear Dragon is the one that has the trademark on that map pronunciation, so I'm not even gonna attempt it. It is a fairly large map. The rush distance, while it is longer in distance, isn't necessarily shorter in time, because we have these green zones that you see on your screen. They are speedy zones. Everything in it will accelerate. So, well, the big map, sure, but Asuna, he wants the cannon rush.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those really annoying, oddly timed cannon rushes where it's kind of hard for the Zerg to punish because it is gate first. Yeah, it's a gate first cannon rush, and that's a totally different response from your traditional, you know, I'm going to drop a fortune, that's going to be it. Because you can't afford to really commit to it all that much because, I mean, look at this. There's a gate, there's a sideboard, the Protoss is going to be able to get a natural behind it. So Antis is going to go, and he's going to take this third. But really, Asuna has already gotten what he wants. Yeah, but okay, there we go. This is going to be that proxy robo shenanigans that we actually have not seen in this meta for quite a while. It's kind of interesting. It just kind of fell out of favor, I think, because Void Rage just became so powerful. But, you know, remember last year, everyone was trying to figure out how to deal with this. Parting, of course, we saw, I believe it was Sue, who went for a 12 pool to try to counter this this gate first cannon rush, and then he wins anyways, because if you place everything right, the 12 pool doesn't matter. Anyways, we got a bunch of shield batteries coming on down, a bunch of cannons as well. Robo is just about finished. And, you know, the one saving grace for Antis is that he can actually get stuff out on the map. He does have this third base for natural here. So he can potentially surround. He can potentially run Ravagers in from the low ground to remove, say, this Robo facility. He can maybe run across the map and try to break that down and force some expenditure elsewhere. But this is not an easy position for him to break already.
No, we did see this quite a while, quite often last year, and there have been different responses. And it looks like Antis is going for the Ravager response here. It's like you mentioned, very important that he has that that second hatchery on the third base location out on the map, so to produce from there. Every time I see this, I think of the way that the Alpha Star, the AI that's playing StarCraft, used to deal with this, and he just got, as a Zerg player, just got out on the map and tried to just out expand the pressure at home, and like eventually the main base was dying, but he had like 4 bases all over the map, and eventually dealt with this. It got a little bit spicy there for a second for Asuna, with the pylon almost getting depowered from the Ravager shots, but now 2 Immortals already out with the Warp Prism. These 2 Immortals are pretty much unkillable because there's just so much micro potential, and Antis has a decent amount of Ravagers though. Oh, and the Warp Prism not quite out yet, but micros them back in range of the shield battery.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a really great shield battery positioning there, because yeah, they're zoned out. Honestly, really good biles, really good Zergling positioning made it so that those Immortals could not find their way onto the low ground, but it didn't matter because that shield battery from the low ground, 2 or 3 of them were able to reach those Immortals. That made life very easy indeed there for Asuna. That being said, Antis has not lost a lot in this game. We have not seen a lot of Ravagers go down. In fact, the grand total is 0. 1 Roach died, but no Ravagers. And this is the hardest part about making this hold happen, right? It's making sure that you keep your Ravager count alive, because you're not ever going to have a lot of gas to make this happen. You're not ever going to have a lot of mining in general to make this happen. So we do see the Immortals going on in. Yeah, more Ravagers immediately getting popped here on top of these Roaches. Queens, of course, they're rather low. Their goal is to just zone out the Warp Prism as much as they can. Now, well, so yeah, there we go. This is what you need to see. You need something coming on in from the natural, just really distracting Asuna, making it difficult for him to just own the high ground, allowing him more time to make something happen. But I mean, with 3 Immortals here and the micro we're seeing from Asuna, it's becoming becoming rather difficult indeed for Antis to make this happen. That being said, how many little Ravagers are there? I mean, he has done such a good job of keeping these alive.
Yeah, the Ravager count for Antis here, super important. He has gotten enough to, if he wants to commit to it, to one-shot these smaller buildings of the Protoss. He can one-shot the shield batteries and the cannons and the pylons with the biles, but for the time being he just uses them to force the Immortals to be picked up again. He's going to heavily commit here with the drones being pulled. 4 Immortals are still alive for Asuna. He's microing this really well, and you said Antis hasn't really lost a lot, but now yes, he gets an Immortal for his troubles, but that's the first Immortal that he's getting all game, and suddenly he's lost more Ravagers, and Asuna looks like maybe he's about to break through here.
Yeah, the fire base is here. Fire Team Alpha is just knocking down every single queen, every single Ravager. At this point, there were 4 queens. Now there are 2. Once the queens go down, the War Prisms can be so much more daring. There we go. Only 1 queen does remain. GG Antis says, Asuna. He said, I heard you like cannons. I heard you like Immortals. Let's put them in your base. How about that? And game number 2, it goes the way of our Protoss player. Folks, we have a game 3. For like the first time in a while, we had what, 1 game 3 in Europe?
I might have forgotten about all the games that were played in Europe in the 1-hour break that we had there. Going to game 3. I've been saying this a lot today, but I'm here for it.
Exactly. So what this means now is even if Antis wins this series, he's not going to really be knocking at the door of Asuna. Certainly he's going to add a lot to the mix, and it's all going to be very convoluted, but it's not going to be within one map of placement or not. So that is already a nice little feather in Asuna's cap, assuming that he doesn't win this game. But also, I mean, he looked real. That micro was fantastic. Very rarely at this level do you see that type of all-in happen and every single Immortal survive. I think 1 died at the very end, but you know, that was at that point it's like, okay, I'm juggling 5 Immortals. You need more War Prisms at that point. But in general, you just don't expect to see that last that long. So really great job there from Asuna. Now we're going into game 3. Are we going to see the same thing? Are we going to see some early aggression from Asuna, or are we going late?
Considering it is romanticide, there's definitely the opportunity to go late. I think if I'm in Asuna's shoes, I'm not losing my confidence in my late game. I think the mistakes that he made in the first map were rather obvious, and with the game in between those, probably kind of easy to fix. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go standard again, but then again, you never know. This is NA. This is the region where if there's a European caster coming into the region, he's just going to be wrong by default. So.
But you know what? Honestly, Vitamin, you've done pretty good. After getting a prediction wrong the very first time, yeah, you've been pretty accurate. I think you've certainly gotten over 50% correct whenever I've been mean and kind of picked up on you to try to get predictions. So, do it again. Who wins this series? Asuna. Okay, so here we go. You heard it here, folks. Asuna 2-1. Let's see whether that happens or not as we have game 3 loaded up.
In the top left corner of Romanticide, pulling out the cheats in the last game. He was successful. What's he gonna do this time? For Alpha X, it is Asuna.
And the bottom right in the red, tying this series up after a victory in game number 1 for Prentice Esports. Put your hands together. He is Antis.
This time around, no Forge down yet. Also not even Oh no, never mind. There is a probe. I'm just apparently blind, but yeah, the timing that the Forge went down last game has passed. So we're just going to see Asuna take the expand here, and yeah, maybe both of these players. And oh, look what this is doing. So with the early probe, Antis is now a tiny bit scared. He has to be aware. He's even pulling a second probe, a second drone into this, just to defend against something that is absolutely not happening.
Yeah, but the fear of God in him, and it's kind of interesting. Like theoretically, that's what the Overlord is for, right? You say, okay, I'm gonna have an Overlord over my natural. That means I'm gonna know if any cannons go down. But that's the response to a Forge first cannon rush, right? Just a pure cannon rush where you can kind of go and you can reactively pull drones and you're fine. If it's gate first, if it's gate cyber forge or gate forge cyber, where it's it's proxy robo, you really don't want to pull your drones because you are most likely not going to prevent everything from getting up, just because of kind of how late it is and how hard you've committed larva into other things, and then your economy is going to be hit a little bit too hard. To make something happen. And again, you want that economy. You want to make sure you have roaches, ravagers out, etc., etc. I do tend to prefer the kind of the Nidus attempt, where you can just get out on the map there and put Zerglings in the Protoss's main base versus just trying to hold with Ravagers. Although that again at this highest of levels, that is a bit more coin flippy, but certainly no Robo in this game. It's going to be a Stargate. It's going to be all that fun stuff. And he's going to get this guy. It's like, okay, I see what's up. I know what you're doing. I'm maybe not happy about it because I did commit to defending that early, but it's not the end of the world.
We had 10 minutes, no rush in the first game. We had a quick cheese in the second game. This third game looking once more a little bit more similar to Met 1. There's still obviously 7 minutes to go before that 10-minute mark, so we're gonna have to see if any of these players decide to attack each other before that. For the time being, everything just standard. Asuna attempting to block that third base location there for just a second. Wasn't really successful. Committed building a pylon that he later cancelled. Now this time around he went once again for the Stargate. Void Ray first to chase away the Overlord and try to secure the third base location here. Oracle behind it. Everything as textbook standard as you can get it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, we do see these Zerglings out on the map here, but just because of how Romanticide is, I don't think we're going to see those patented Antis Zerglings being quite as powerful as they have been in, the other PvZ series or DPP series we've seen Antis do. I mean, they were dominant. They did so much work against Maples. And even in that last game, they got a lot of early defense out that did prevent Asuna from being just a little bit too greedy here. But now, I mean, the Zerglings, they're not really going to find all that much. Yeah, there's actually some really nice SimCity here with the shield battery, making it very difficult indeed to get on top of the depth. And with the Void Ray, that is going to be that. I mean, yeah, the probe's going to go down, but okay, not all that much. Meanwhile, Asuna, he's going to move onto the bottom side of the map here, try to find some value. Oh, he's going to drop a high ground stasis trap. Ah, it's great. It's not going to be scouted, and there we go. One queen, a bunch of workers. Not the entire mineral line, but certainly enough. They're all going to be hidden. They're all going to be locked away, and they don't get to do anything for the next 45 seconds.
Yeah, we saw that happening on the first map, or rather we didn't see it happening because we missed it. But yeah, this exact thing happened on the first map as well. Antis just not super aware of the stasis trap there on the high ground. Denies a lot of mining time. Yeah, Asuna behind this, going up to the double Stargate, researching +1 as well. The Zergling goes ahead and should have seen the cybernetics core wobbling away, so indicating that there is an upgrade being researched. So both players getting good scouting. Both players should be super aware of what is happening. This Oracle though is occupying these queens for quite a long time, and that gives room for these Void Rays to head on over here to try and cancel that fourth base. And the queens, there's no creep there, nowhere inside this fourth base. Gonna have to be forced to be cancelled. Man, what a role reversal here. Antis getting his fourth base cancelled. Yeah, you love to see it too. It didn't work out because there was a Zergling there and then it got stasis instead. But
There was a really fancy bait where we had the Void Race trying to cancel that 4th base, and the Oracle was dropping a Stasis Ward in between, ideally catching a bunch of Queens. Wasn't successful, but you gotta love the attempt. Meanwhile, of course, there we go. Queens are in position here, but it's 4 Void Rays with thick beams. Yeah, there we go. That's gonna get canceled once again. And his 4th base has been canceled twice in this series thus far, but he's doing the same thing we saw. All 3 upgrades going on in a quick hive, infestation pit, and there we go. We got a fleet bacon coming on in as well. Neither player is interested in playing out the mid game. They want to say, look, you know, much like a kid that is waiting at Christmas Day, they just want to go skip straight to the good stuff.
Yeah, straight to the good stuff. Already carriers in production, just as we hit the 7 minutes mark here. We're gonna have to see at one point Asuna attempt to take his 4th base. Antis is trying to be active on the map here. Oh yeah, 4th base. 0 Klings are on top of it. Don't get it quite yet, but yeah, I like the attempt here from Antis, trying to be active, trying to deny it, and at the very least he gets the scouting on the exact timing. So yeah. Just the same thing as we saw like 2 minutes ago, where both players are just super aware what is happening all across the game. These Void Rays sharking around the map, if they're heading up north, they're going to find another base and be able to cancel that once again. And that is, yeah, with these Void Rays, that is all that they're looking for. I don't think he needed to activate the beams there, but yeah. Wait, did he actually kill that and not cancel it?
I believe
if he...
that was a cancel. He got the drone, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if that had been a kill, I would have said, okay, I get why he activated the prismatic alignment, or as you call them, the thick beams there. But yeah, good denial of bases here with these Void Rays all across the map. But Hive is already done. Vipers are already in production. Double Spire and Ultralisk Cavern off of 90 drones. Antis has everything that he could hope for here and wish for, except for 5th base.
Yeah, I gotta say though, this is rather an aspirational setup here. Is just skipping everything that he needs to keep himself safe. Doesn't matter though, because Asuna's gonna be fine. Now, Asuna dives in, doesn't get much, more than enough queens here. And of course, these queens do have 1/1 now, so they don't die all that quickly. Now, Vitamin, we're at 9 minutes in. Well, if last game is anything like this one, or if game 1 is anything like this one, we're gonna start to see some action kicking off in the next 2 minutes. Does Asuna get eaten alive by the fungal parasitic bomb combination? Or is he able to avoid that? Also, by the way, look how many upgrades on the production tab right now for both players.
Yeah, that's a ton of upgrades, and as soon as they are finished, both armies are going to be quite scary. Asuna is adding on a few more gateways here, so that he has potentially some presence on the ground as well. But what I would absolutely love to see him do is add on that also important Templar Archive. It gets another cancel on the 5th base here, man. These Void Rays, contesting Antis for the most bases cancelled in this tournament so far.
Yeah, let's see. That's 1 4th base, 2 5th bases have been canceled at this point. Really what it is honestly, Antis has not done that great of a job developing his creep compared to what he did in the previous couple games. I mean, game 1, he owned the map. Absolutely. His creep was everywhere. In this one, we have a decent amount of creep tumors that have been able to spread creep for a while. The queens have a lot of energy in them. And in part, you know, you want to keep energy on there, allow for transfuses, things like that. But still, this creep could be a lot more developed with how passive Asuna has been playing. That being said, now Asuna, passive no longer. He's getting ready to move out on the map here, just about maxed out. Actually, he is even closer to maxed out than Antis is, as he makes the push happen in earnest. And yeah, there we go. We're going to have to see the Dark Style pulled once again. So there we go. Parasitic Bomb on top of a Void Ray. But there need to be more where that came from, though, because it's just going to be a really good split now. Of course, Transfuses, these queens will keep the stack defense alive for forever and a day. And I believe we just saw a lot of Interceptors go down. Yeah, 36 Interceptors. They're not expensive, but they're not cheap either. And that is going to be annoying here to try to make that push happen.
Yeah, we saw a quick run by here. It was Banelings heading into the third base, killing 8 probes. Not too bad, but this fight here way more important. It looks like Asuna slowly but steadily will get through a couple of these queens, and as long as there are no fungals to go with the parasitic bombs, Asuna is just splitting off that one void ray at a time, and oh, he's cleaned up so much static defense already. He can just move forward. The Vipers all but out of energy. I think one has some energy left, but Antis this time around, he doesn't quite have what it takes to deal with this army yet, and his control has been a bit lackluster compared to map 1 as well.
Yeah, Roddy would love a word with you because this +2 carrier timing, it is absolutely shredding what Antis has here. He's going to build more and more corruptors, trying to make something happen, but I mean, there are enough voids at this point. Yeah, one void for every 2 corruptors, where things are rather scary indeed. Bases have gone down. We're gonna see this base, the Char's lot run by, maybe even slow lot run by. Of course, the drones are gonna burrow themselves, but man, these splits from Asuna, he's just absolutely on top of things here in this game number 3. The parasitic bomb not really finding all that much value, just waiting for it to time out, move on in. Viper's running out of energy, and GG Asuna. He hits his timing. He runs across the map. He says, look,